Next we're going to build the leaf for the trees. I'm just going to branch select the destroyed building and environment models and hide them along with the maple. At least this gives us a clean slate upon which to work. So I guess I'll start by taking a curve, and I'll draw a cubic CV curve in the top window. I'll start by holding down Control. If I move my Explorer out of the way here and press Control, we activate grid snapping. And if I can figure out where my origin is, here it is, the darker black line. I'll press Control to snap to the grid, and then begin building my curve that will represent the outer profile of a leaf. So it's just going to be a very generic vanilla leaf, just kind of like a cherry tree leaf, something like that, just to make the example a little easier to work with. So even though we're dealing with a maple, don't look too far into it. Okay, I'll take the object here and I'll mirror it across. I'll do duplicate symmetry. So I have two sides to my leaf. So I can make up the profile of the leaf now with an arc. If I create an arc, I will make sure that the arc is 180 degrees, as the Birail tool that we're going to use to create the leaf requires half circles. And I don't need that many subdivisions to the leaf. 16 points is a few too many, so I'll take the subdivisions down to 8. And I'll scale the cross-section down to a very small size. Okay, I'll make sure that I freeze all the scaling of the curves when I'm done. Everything's good there. I'm going to start by selecting the curve and creating a brand new polymesh Birail from the 3. So the cross-section picked, I'll pick a left and a right cross-section. And sometimes you get this with the tool. Sometimes all it is a matter of just moving the cross-section. The Birail's kind of had this issue for quite some time now, where just moving the cross-section can dictate the shape that you get. Very weird, but it's still worth it. The Birail's a very nice tool to work with. I don't actually have the ability to raycast polyselect with my U hotkey right now, so I want to invert the surface here. I'll modify the surface and invert the normals. So I can select the cross-section and rotate it 180 degrees. So we get the cup of a leaf. And if I open up the Birail operator one more time, I'm going to add a couple more subdivisions, just right to the end here, where the water is going to drip off. All of these points accumulating at the tip converge in much too linear of a fashion. So I really want to make sure I give myself enough points to work with. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. That's a fairly even distribution. So I'll take that object, that new polymesh object, I'll freeze it, and I'll make sure I get rid of my 3 construction curves, which I don't need anymore, and this becomes my leaf. Now remember, at any time I'm able to extrude this leaf and give it some thickness, but for the purposes of this exercise, we're going to keep it fairly simple. In fact, this leaf is going to represent my main leaf, the one that I animate. I'm going to instance a number of other leaves on the tree as particle instances to fill in the effect. So I will Control-Alt-D to make a duplicate, and I'll call this one my instance leaves. I did freeze the operator stack, but that's okay. I can go in and do a polygon reduction on this leaf. And as long as I preserve my quad lines, I can even preserve the volume as well, I can reduce the ratio. Again, if I just move the leaf instance over, you can see the difference between the two of them. So I'm just going to get it to a slightly better look. There we go, say something like that. Okay, so we have 107 poly leaf. That should work out just fine for me. I'll freeze both of them, and now we can continue on. I'm going to give both leaves a very quick color, so I'm going to jump into the Materials Manager, create 2 new materials. So this first material will be the leaf material. Now you make sure that I turn off my caps lock. And the other one will be the instance leaf material. I'll assign both of them, so leaf and leaf material. I'll right-click and assign to selection. And same goes for the instance leaf. I'll select the instance leaf, select the instance leaf material, and assign to selection there as well. Okay, I'll give both of them a quick green color. So the normal leaf, also drag the specularity from the diffuse onto the color swatch onto the specular swatch from the diffuse channel. And I'll just take the luminance down so I don't have quite a hit on the specularity. I'll also take the overall color tone down a little bit as well. Okay, there we go. There's one leaf. And if I just lock the property editor down, I can open up the instance leafs property page, lock it down, and just drag and drop the swatches over. Maybe just do some slight variation there. Make these a little bit darker so they don't compete as much as the main leaf I want here. And I'll also do the same thing. I'll maybe copy the specular color to here and widen it, and of course maybe just darken it a hair, desaturate it. Alright, I'll close down my manager and the Phong presets. And now I think we're ready to go. We need to do some rigging and scene setup before we can actually get this leaf working with the dripping. So we'll focus on the main leaf because the drip is the main purpose of this tutorial, and at the end of the tutorial work with the instance leaves on the rest of the maple.